What's the weirdest thing you've ever pulled out of a cow?
Well, the weirdest thing that we ever found was about a 5 or 6 year old cow that was, we call a poor doer, one that tends to not stay fat. It's kind of skinny all the time, moving slow, never real thrifty. And normally that means some kind of disease or something happening within the animal to where they're not as thriving as the rest of the herd. And you can tell because the whole herd moves as a group, and you get the ones that kind of lag behind and don't stay up with the herd for various reasons, stay under the tree more than the rest of the herd does when they're grazing, kind of trying to be solitary. You can kind of pick up on those animals that tend to be called what we call poor doers. Anyway, so we had a phone call from a gentleman that called us to go out and look at one that was a poor doer. Looked at it and trying to figure out what's going on. The cow had a fever, and just really kind of a weird presentation, walking with a hunched back, been doing so for about a year. So checking the cow out, and we noticed on one of the sides they had a wound that was there, a circular wound that was kind of draining a little bit of fluid, not a lot, but it was noticeable. So we looked at it, and we just by noticing it, and we explored the wound, and there was something hard in the circle. So we've seen foreign bodies in cattle a lot of times, sticks, things they rub and they hit or they run into. So we find foreign bodies on them a lot of times. So we opened the hole with some hemostats, and it was an arrow tip that was the broadhead sticking out. If you ran your fingers close, it would cut you because the broadhead part of the arrow was coming on that side. So we opened the wound more, and we grabbed the broadhead, and we pulled out a whole arrow that somebody had shot the cow with, and it didn't hit any vital organs, but it caused a lot of scarring and scar tissue associated with where the arrow was. It went through the stomach and missed all the intestines and all the vital organs, and it's kind of lodged into the other side of the skin, and it stayed there for a year. So we ended up pulling the whole arrow came out the cow. That was probably the weirdest thing I pulled out of a cow. A goat came in one time at the clinic. Same thing, poor doer, not doing good, losing weight, chronic diarrhea for probably about 8 months. Thought it might have been a cancer or something like that. Did an x-ray, and they had this huge, we couldn't tell what it was in the rumen, which is the large part of the stomach. And really couldn't identify what it was, but there was obviously a foreign body in the rumen of the goat. And it was a pretty big goat, probably a 200-pound goat. So we sedated it and opened him up, and we pulled out a whole doormat, all intact, like a 3x4 doormat. And how that goat ate that and swallowed that,
Keeps you up at night.
there is no way to even think how he could eat a doormat. It was one of those thistle doormats, so it was made out of fiber. And anyway, so that's the weirdest thing we pull out of a goat. So that's my two.